Well, we got through the 5 Charles Bronson Death Wish films, so why don't we talk about the remake? Let's do it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in for my Canon Films Christmas reviews. Yes, none of these films have anything to do with Christmas, although it's set during the Christmas during Invasion USA, but none of these films have anything to do with Christmas, truly. But I thought it was fun to go down the Canon Films catalog for some Charles Bronson and Chuck Norris films. And these are films I grew up with. I have fond memories of watching in various ways over the years. And I think there's some value in these films. I know people write them off. Some people write these films off. But there's some really good, solid films in this group of films that I just went through. And after the new year, I'm going to go do some more. I think I'm going to do The Messenger of Death with Charles Bronson. I'm going to do Assassination with Charles Bronson, and I'm going to do Delta Force 1 and 2, Over the Top with Stallone. That was a Canon Films as well. And then I'm going to do some non-Canon films with Charles Bronson films like The Mechanic, the original Mechanic, and Mr. Majestic, I think. And we'll do some other films along the way. I got some other requests for the Molly Maguires. That was set in the area I grew up in, so I might do that film eventually too in January and February. So we'll get into some more. Next week I'm going to do Home Alone 1 and 2 leading up to Christmas, and I'm going to take some time off until the new year. Just give it a break, recharge the batteries, and we'll get back after it. But today we're going to talk about the Death Wish remake. The Death Wish remake came out March 2nd of 2018. It's an hour and 47 minutes long. Had a $30 million budget. It grossed 34 in the US when it was released and 49 worldwide. Now, the Death Wish remake had been around for a while. This goes back to 2006 when Sylvester Stallone was going to write, direct, and star in this film. And I remember him giving interviews about it. He was working on the script. He was going to write and direct it, star in it. And I was very interested to see what Stallone would do with this film. It's always interesting when Stallone sits down and writes, directs, and stars in his own films. And it's usually pretty decent, they're usually pretty good films. But after some creative differences, Stallone left the project. Then Joe Carnahan came on, and Joe Carnahan was going to write and direct this film, and Liam Neeson and Frank Grillo were going to star in the film. Now, Joe Carnahan was on it for a while, and then he left over creative differences, which is never a good sign for a production, honestly, when you start having that many problems with creative differences. And then they brought on another director, and then finally Eli Roth came in. Now, Eli Roth is known for Cabin Fever, Hostel 1 and 2. I enjoy those films, I do. And then he went on to do The Green Inferno, and he did The House with the Clocks in its Walls, which I've never seen. But I like Eli Roth as a director. And he was chosen to come in, and they hired Bruce Willis to star in it. Now, here's the thing about Bruce Willis. I love Bruce Willis in the Die Hard films, The Last Boy Scout. He did many other films I really enjoy, Last Man Standing, and other films that he was in. But Bruce Willis has a reputation for being difficult to work with, which is unfortunate to hear about. I know Kevin Smith has stories about working with him on the film they did together, Cop Out, and other people said he's very difficult to work with. It seems like Bruce Willis has become a grumpy old man. I don't know if that's true, but that's what a lot of people say. And he's been in direct-to-video hell for a while. Yes, he's had some theatrical films like Glass, this one, but he's been mostly in direct-to-video hell. And that's unfortunate for one of our biggest stars of all time, because Bruce Willis is one of our biggest stars of all time. And it looks like whenever you see Bruce Willis, I haven't seen many of his direct-to-video films. Now, direct-to-video action films, typically when you have a star on the poster or on the video art, usually they're only in the movie for 10 minutes, and it's a paycheck movie. They get paid a lot of money to show up for very little time, very little effort. They sleepwalk through it, and the movies are usually very shitty. Overly edited, scripts are shit, the action's shot very poorly, and are not very good films. That's my opinion of most direct-to-video films. Once in a while you find a gold nugget in the pile of shit that is direct-to-video hell, but mostly these films aren't very good. So Bruce Willis has been known to be phoning it in lately, but he here stars as Paul Kersey. We got the lovely Elizabeth Shue as Lucy Kersey, his wife, and if you're my age, we all had a crush on Elizabeth Shue in the 80s and 90s. Now, she's still a very attractive woman, but she was definitely a crush back in the 80s and 90s. Vincent D'Onofrio's in this film as Frank, and he is very good in this role as kind of like the loser brother who's very likable. Camilla Morrone plays Jordan, she plays the daughter in this film, and Dean Norris plays Detective Rains. And Dean Norris has been around for a long time in all kinds of movies. He was in Total Recall, T2, Hard to Kill, Lethal Weapon 2. I know most people know him from the Breaking Bad series, but I remember him from many, many, many films and TV appearances. Now, other actors that were tapped to play, they were looking at to play Paul Kersey. I already said about Liam Neeson, Russell Crowe, Matt Damon, Benicio del Toro, and even Will Smith. So this film had definitely been through several iterations before they settled on what they decided to do with this. Now, right from the beginning of the film, there's a big difference in the directing style of this film. Michael Winner, the original Death Wish film, is a very gritty crime drama revenge film. It's very realistic too. Like when Paul Kersey, Charles Bronson, those films goes out and decides to start being a vigilante, it's very sloppy. It looks very realistic. This film is much more slick, which I had no problem with. Eli Roth directs this film very nicely. I am not criticizing that at all. But Paul Kersey in this film is a doctor. In the beginning of the film, we see this cop rushing his partner to the hospital. His partner was shot with a shootout with some gangbangers. Paul Kersey comes in, starts working on his partner, but his partner passes away, unfortunately. And Paul Kersey consoles the police officer, starts walking away, and the police officer notices that the other guy he's going to work on is the gangbanger that shot his partner. And he goes, so my partner dies and you're going to go help that scumbag live? And he goes, if I can, I'll save him. I don't know. And he walks away. And then we're introduced to Paul Kersey's family, Elizabeth Shue, his daughter. We get to see a glimpse into their family life and his brother Frank. They go out for this dinner. And when they go to get their car, the valet, they have a built-in GPS in their car. And he looks up their address because he knows these people have some money. And Paul Kersey, they're planning on going out the next couple nights later for his birthday. But he gets called into work. He's supposed to be off, but he's called into work. He's an emergency room doctor in Chicago, so he goes off to work. And his daughter and his wife are going to bake him a birthday cake. Well, these thugs show up, and they're just looking for money. There's no rape scene in this film, which I'm grateful for. In the first 3 Death Wish films, there's rape, a lot of rape, and it kind of got old, even though I like those films. I'm glad they didn't need it here. I'm glad Eli Roth didn't go down that road. We didn't need to see it. And these thugs end up killing Paul Kersey's wife and shooting his daughter, and she ends up in a coma. Paul Kersey takes his wife's remains back to the family farm in Texas to bury him on the family plot, on the family land. And he's driving back to the house with the father, and the father stops and shoots at these poachers. He owns his farm. And the father happens to say to Paul Kersey about, it's up to a man to protect his family. That's our job. And when you need the cops, they're minutes away, so you're the first line of defense. And this sticks with Paul Kersey. He goes back to Chicago and he starts watching YouTube videos. They definitely play up the technology of the time, obviously. And he starts watching these gun videos on YouTube about how to handle a firearm reviews, and he sees this advertisement for this video store, Jolly Rogers Gun Store. And he goes and he talks to the girl that's on the video, is at the store, and she's a little over the top. If you've ever been in a gun store, it's nothing like the way this girl portrays it. I've been to many gun stores, and they are never like this. It's not that the people there aren't very friendly, because they are always very friendly, and they're very knowledgeable about what they're selling you or what you're interested in. But this girl's like so over the top. But anyway, he notices all of the security cameras in there, so he decides not to buy a gun because he knows what he's about to do. He can't legally buy it because it can get traced back to him. So the next night at work, a gangbanger gets brought in to be operated on, and a gun falls out of his pocket, and Paul Kersey takes it and hides it from everybody else, and he keeps it. And he goes to this empty warehouse and starts practicing with it after watching these videos. And once he feels like he's good enough, he goes out, and he ends up saving this woman who's being accosted by these punks, and he ends up shooting and killing him. And he gets videotaped by this girl he doesn't see, but she doesn't get his face. It's all from behind. He has a hoodie on, and she uploaded a video to the internet, and it goes viral. And all the radio personalities in Chicago are talking about this guy, and they nickname him the Grim Reaper. And after that, Paul Kersey goes out. He works on this little boy in his emergency room, and he got shot by this local drug dealer. Well, he shows up and kills this local drug dealer. They call him the Ice Cream Man. Now, this is where this film differentiates from the original. The original, Paul Kersey never gets revenge on the guys that rape his daughter and kill his wife. He never gets them. In the sequel, it's different. When his daughter's kidnapped and raped in the sequel, and his maid gets accosted and sexually raped, he gets revenge on the guys who did it. In this film, Paul Kersey eventually goes after those guys and takes revenge on all of them. And Dean Norris plays the main detective on the case, and he, towards the end of the film, he's pretty certain it's Paul Kersey, but he can't prove it. And he even says to his partner, I'm not going to arrest a known surgeon for something we don't have enough evidence for. And at the end of the film, we have our last shootout at Paul Kersey's house because the one punk that's left comes to take revenge on them because he knows Paul Kersey and his daughter can finger him for the job. And Paul Kersey kills everybody. And Dean Norris's character and his partner kind of know it was Paul Kersey all along, but the gun that Paul Kersey used on those other revenge crimes they can't find, so they really don't have any hard evidence. And at the end, there's kind of a wink and a nod that Dean Norris's character knows it's him, but now that he's done, they let him go. And at the end, he takes his daughter to college and he does the finger gun like Charles Bronson in the original at the end of the original film, and that's the end of Death Wish 2018. Now, this movie, like I said at the beginning of this review, is very slick, very nicely shot by Eli Roth. It's very nicely shot. The action's nicely shot. You can see everything. What I did miss was the grittiness and the realism of the original film. I did miss that, the way Michael Winner shot the original film. But I like the way this film's directed. I'm not criticizing it. It's more of a glossier film than the original film was. But it's nicely shot. There's some nice action sequences. Bruce Willis is okay here. He emotes some emotion, but there's scenes where he's definitely sleepwalking through the scene. Everybody else is really good in the film. Bruce Willis is okay. It's not his best performance. It's not his worst performance. He's okay here. Everybody else does really well. Vincent D'Onofrio is really good in this film. He's very likable as like the loser brother. I like his character a lot. And Dean Norris is fine. He's not given much. He just plays a detective. And it's not my favorite Death Wish film. It's not an awful remake by any stretch of the imagination. And I know it was controversial upon release. I think that was more people bitching just to bitch. I don't see anything here that's really controversial, really. It's just a revenge film. I know the original was controversial at the time. This one, I don't see anything controversial about it, honestly. It's just a revenge film, no different than Taken, really, other than it's rated R, and there's gore and there's blood in it. The one thing, there's a scene in the movie where it takes place in a bar, and Paul Kersey gets some convenient help from a bowling ball to kill this guy. I don't want to give it away if you've never seen it. That scene's a little over the top. Everything else is a little bit more realistic. That scene I could have did without. It's unnecessary to put that in there, but that's a minor nitpick. Overall, I would give this film a 7 out of 10. I like it enough. I saw it in the theaters. I own it. I bought it. I enjoyed it enough. It's decent, but I don't think it's better than the original film. So yes, 7 out of 10 for Death Wish 2018. Have you seen the remake? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Where does it rank in the Death Wish franchise for you? Consider taking into consideration the original 5 and this one. Where does it rank for you? Leave a comment down below. Let me know about that. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back next week with Home Alone 1 and 2, and then we'll take a break for the Christmas holiday. I hope you're all doing well out there. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back next week. Thanks.